All right, so it's been going on 10 years of me having a Honda Elite 110. So that's what it's known as in North America. In other countries, it's known as the Lead 110, and it's Honda's um, designation for it is actually NHX110. So as you can hear, that 110, that's basically it's displacement class. It's actually 108 cc's and not 110, but that's how the industry is. They kind of round things up or down, whatever, to the nearest. So it's been 10 years, and I'm making this video because I think it's time to move on. This is actually my second Elite. My first one I bought brand new at the end of 2010, December 2010. Actually, it was like a couple days before New Year's. Actually, New Year's of 2011. I bought this again, brand new, and I rode that scooter everywhere. That was my kind of my daily transportation. I traveled all over with that bike. I rode it up to Alaska, rode it down to Key West, rode to New York. So I've been all over the country with with the Elite, and I like it so much that 3 years ago I bought this one. So this is my second Elite. So now currently this one has almost 12,000 miles. Yeah, my first one I had over 76,000 miles when I bought it. Or essentially when I sold it, over 76,000 miles when I sold it. And I bought the second one. It was meant to basically replace the first one, because I knew the first one. I had originally, when I first bought that first one, I had originally only planned on doing 50,000 miles, then get rid of it. But when I got to 50,000 miles, I felt like, man, this scooter is just too good. So I actually kept it, and I told myself, oh, okay, I'm gonna do 100,000 miles. Then probably somewhere around maybe 60 something thousand miles or so, I was like, if I have a chance to find another one of these, because they don't, because Honda only bought this over in the US for 1 year, 2010, because that was, at the time we were still in the recession, and no one was buying anything. So that's the reason why this scooter didn't sell very well, because of that reason, not because it was a bad scooter or anything like that. It's just people didn't have money to spend on a toy, basically, in the U.S. Two wheel transportation, or two-wheel vehicles are looked at as toys. They're not looked at as transportation. So the economy was pretty much bust. So the Elite didn't wasn't successful because of that. So Honda only bought it over for 1 year. And I knew that it wasn't gonna be easy to find one of these, and as time went on, it got harder and harder to find. Actually, when I first bought this one, it was more regularly that I saw used ones for sale, and as time went on, it was it was like months in between seeing it, and now the last time I saw one of these for sale was, at least 6 months ago. So it's been a long time. So it's less and less. But also, this bike's not very well known because it's only 1 year. I think as far as this bike goes, I'm probably, because I have so many videos on it, and I've done so much riding on it. I know this bike in and out. I know quite a bit of it because I do all the service myself. Done everything myself. People actually ask me about this bike. As far as people that buy this bike, they ask me how to work on it, how to service it, etc. And I sold many people on this bike too, meaning people saw what it's capable of, what it could do, and they bought this scooter just because they saw what I did with it, what I was, all the places I've been and how much miles I was able to get. So it's a fantastic bike. I'm kind of hesitant to get rid of it, let it go. I need to thin my herd. I have so many bikes. I need to thin my herd, and I decided this is one of the ones that I was gonna get rid of. I'm not sure if this is a mistake or not. If it is, I know. I know in I don't know, maybe in 6 months, a year, or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see when that time comes. And hopefully, if I do regret it, and I want this bike back, I have to look for another one. And I'm pretty sure somewhere someone will have one that they didn't ride much. Yeah, so me and this and the elite has been through a lot, seen a lot, experienced a lot. And it's a fantastic everyday ride for commuting and such. It's very practical. It doesn't seem like much, but this scooter here, and why I have the car right here. This is a Honda Fit in the background. Is that this scooter is basically the Honda Fit of scooters. When I say that, you look at what the Honda Fit is. It's a subcompact car that's meant for practicality. Urban use. Holds 5 people. The seats fold down. You carry quite a bit of stuff. It's economical to own, operate. Sips gas. Everything that this scooter is too. So my riding is different from other people. I like to travel a lot, but also when I commute on this bike, I actually commute through the mountains every day. So when you mountain ride, it actually uses more gas than not mountain biking. Because when I ride through the mountains, I ride fast. You get thinking about what the heck is he talking about? Is it a 110cc scooter? What talking about riding fast? I ride fast with this bike. Not too many people could keep up with me on this bike. You have to have sport bikes, and its variations, naked bikes and such, to be able to keep up with me on this scooter, especially really tight stuff. I'm not talking about more open sweeping turns type, high speed type riding. I'm talking about tight, technical, goaty roads. One lane wide roads. I will fly through this faster than anything I have actually. I've had lots of different bikes, and I have to say that I'm faster on this bike than any of my other bikes I've had in the past in tight goaty roads. And that includes various sporting bikes. One of which is a Yamaha XSR 900. That's a fast bike, and I ride real fast with that bike too when I had it. But when it comes to really tight technical stuff, this right here is hands down king for that. And the reason why that is because it's so light. This bike's only 250 pounds, and the center of gravity is so low that it feels like it's hardly anything. And the third thing is that the wheels are small. So when you have small wheels, it's very agile. So it turns and steers, and all 3 things together: lightweight, low center of gravity, and small wheels. You're riding through the canyons, and the tight, twisty stuff is like, your how it feels and how it responds. It's like telepathic. It's amazing at what this bike could do, and how much you can push it. Now obviously you need good tires, and I run good tires. I run basically more or less street legal race bike tires, mini bike tires. For this, I used to run the Dunlop TT93, or actually it was 91. Then they changed it to 90. They upgraded to 92. Then now it's 93. So I went through 3 generations of Dunlops with this bike. TT93 GP. Then Kenda came out with the KD1s, quick. I think they call it quick KD1s. It's basically the lower cost alternative to the Dunlops, and I've been running those for the last probably 20,000 miles, because Kendas have been around for maybe a couple years now, and those work just as well as the Dunlops. They're not quite as stiff, so as far as like the feedback, because they have one less ply than the Dunlops do. So the Dunlops give you a little bit more feedback, a little stiffer, but that's about it. Everything else is pretty much the same: the cornering, the grip, the longevity, the wet riding conditions. They both feel pretty much identical, except for the extra bit of stiffness and feedback from that stiffness. And when you're really pushing it, the Kendas aren't quite on par with the Dunlops, but they're close enough for most everything. And definitely good enough for this bike. It's not like I have high end suspension. It's basically stock suspension. So anyways, yeah, so very fun bike to ride, very sporty feeling. Kind of like the fit too. The fit here is very sporty feeling for what it is. It's not a sports car by no means. And you jump into a sports car, you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? But for what it is, if you compare the fit to other cars in this class, it's probably the most sporty and fun driving subcompact hatchback in this class. Now people with Golfs, they would say otherwise, but the Golf is I would say the Golf is in a different class, because the price of a Golf is just it's just a lot more than the Fit is. When I bought this Fit 5 years ago, it was only 15 grand, I think, 15 and a half grand, something like that. I got it out the door for 17 grand. So I don't think you could get a Golf at MSRP for 17 grand. It's gonna be more than that. So so you're talking about a different class, right? So I'm talking about is basically subcompact hatchback class here. Yeah. So let's look at this bike here. So I said it's very practical, carries a lot of stuff, and it does. I've carried 2 5-gallon jugs of water on the floorboard, one on each side, and I bungeed the two because of how the shape of this is. I was able to carry one right here on this side, and the other one on the other side. And because of the shape, how it's more narrow in the middle, it acts like a pocket. And since I bungeed it together, so it acts as a pocket, and it actually holds the jugs from shooting out the side. And I actually rode through the mountains like that several times, because I actually bring those jugs of water to my work. So I have water to drink instead of drinking tap water. I have filtered water to drink instead of drinking straight tap water. I use filtered tap water. So that's one thing there. Usually when I travel, this is where I put my gas can. If I'm traveling, depending on what type of traveling I do, shorter distances or places that I know that there's not too many problems with gas, I would just carry a 1.25 gallon can here. If I travel places where I know that the gas stations are further apart, I will carry 2.5 gallons right here. Then above that, hooked up to the handlebars, where the handlebars are, strapped around the handlebars and hanging down right here, I have a Camelback. So that's I keep the stuff that I need right there. If I need things right then and there, I keep it in there. Like for example, my rain gear. Sometimes when you're on the road, it rains, so I could just have my rain gear right there on the spot, my water right there, etc. The obvious thing is I have this little rack here, but it's not just this little rack; it's also the passenger end too. So I usually carry a big dry bag right here, on both sides, and that could carry quite a bit, because I don't want to have everything right here and nothing right here, because you're shifting the weight further back and it messes the handling up. So you want to have to weight more forward, right? And I've stacked stuff sitting on here. I stack stuff up to my shoulder, basically shoulder height, and it's fine because it's behind me. So aerodynamically speaking, it's actually probably better that way. It's probably more aerodynamic that way. All right, so a bunch of stuff there. Then the other thing, which other scooters in this size doesn't have, in this class doesn't have, is the under seat space. This under seat space, you can hold a full face helmet right here, and additional stuff here. So no other small scooter like this has this capacity, not even close. They usually only have about half this at the most. This size right here, this size capacity is what maxi scooters will have, like the Bergman and such. You know, they have a big trunk like this, but otherwise, you know, no other scooter is like this. And that's partly because, you know, the back wheel is small. You know, you're looking at 10-inch wheels, so just like the Honda Fit, when you fold down the Magic seats, you have a lot of space in the back trunk of the Honda Fit. This thing, you know, has a huge trunk space as well. So yeah, so it's a fantastic bike. You could look back at my videos on my playlist for this bike. You know, I have well over 100 videos. I think close to 120 videos, I think, on this bike, and working with it, various things going wrong and such. So you guys can look back at that and see, you know, and know what to expect. And usually when I do those videos, I also show the mileage or mention the mileage in there, so you can have an idea of what's what. You also have to understand that how I ride it too. The way that I ride this bike, I ride it hard. I'm always wide open throttle, almost everywhere. I rarely ever go partial throttle. I'm always wide open. So, and when I'm traveling or going farther places, I'm wide open throttle for hours. You know, look at, sometimes I'll travel and I need to cover, like, say 500 miles in a day. I'll do that with this bike, 500 miles in a day. You know, a 500-mile day on this bike is basically me getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and probably not going to bed until basically waking up at 6 and going to bed at midnight. That's what it is. So so usually once I wake up, you know, within an hour I'm on the road, and once I stop for the day, within an hour or so I'm going to bed. So that's so 6 to 12, 6 to midnight, basically 6 in the morning to midnight is 18 hours, minus 2 hours, that's 16 hours, and you throw in a couple hours for eating. So when I travel, I only eat twice a day, usually breakfast and dinner, no lunch. So a couple hours off for eating, so that comes up to 14 hours. And obviously gas breaks. So basically when I get gas, that's also when I take a break. You know, so stop to get gas and to take a piss. It's basically my break. That's what I consider a break. So that's usually what it takes. 10 minutes to get gas and take a piss. So that's basically my break off the scooter. And as soon as I'm done getting gas and taking a piss, I'm back on the scooter and I'm moving again. So in a 14-hour day like that of riding, gas breaks, I will probably stop. I don't know. If I do 500 miles, I'll probably stop 4 times or so. But also I carry the gas can, so I don't have to actually stop at the gas station. But I will actually stop, you know, up to 5 times, 4 to 5 times a day. So that potentially could be, let's say, take another hour. So 14 go down to 13. So 13 hours of riding all day long, wide open throttle, basically at redline. So when I ride this thing, I'm always at this max speed, and the max speed is just over 50. The needle is usually about right there where my fingertip is, my nail is, about 52, 53 or so, and I'm usually, you know, at that max speed, hitting the rev limiter range. So yeah, so 10 years with this bike, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm basically, you see my videos, you know that I have a Honda Super Cub, so that's what I'm going to use I'm going to use the Super Cub in place of this bike, and I've been riding the Super Cub this past week. Uh, it's definitely a little faster and more comfortable riding, meaning the bigger wheels on the Super Cup, it's more comfortable, so it's not as bouncy. It probably has better suspension too. Probably has more suspension. This bike only has about 2 inches of travel, front and rear like 2.5 inches, I think, somewhere like that. I think the Super Cup probably has like 3.5 inches, or maybe almost 4 inches. So the Super Cup's definitely more comfortable in that regard. But as far as like the seat goes, this seat is actually more comfortable than the Super Cup is, and also the feet too, because you have a floorboard. You move your feet around, so that's more comfortable than foot pegs. Because foot pegs you only move your feet so much, right, on pegs. The Super Cup isn't as practical as this, even though it's always intended to be practical, but it's not, because this thing has the locking trunk. The trunk is, you can put secure stuff. So the Super Cup, I need to get a top box, which I actually already got. But yeah, I think this is a little bit more practical than that. But there's only so much room I have, and I'm kind of overflowing with bikes right now, and I think I'm gonna get rid of this and get rid of my my big bike. So I may have three or four bikes instead of 5-6 bikes. Basically, I don't need a bike that's redundant, is what it is. So this bike right here would be this, and the Super Cub is kind of redundant. And I also plan on using my Super Cub from now on, basically as a travel bike too, just because it's a little bit faster and it's a little bit more comfortable, and you can carry almost as much stuff. And the Super Cub actually because it has a bigger engine, the Super Cub actually gets better gas mileage, because the engine isn't working as hard. So it's not revving as high for the given speed, basically. So this bike at 50 miles, 50 plus miles an hour, I'm revving at 9,000 RPMs. On the Super Cub at 50 miles an hour, I'm revving probably, I don't know, 4,000, maybe 5,000 RPM at the most. It's basically more fuel efficient. So this bike, the fuel efficiency, when Honda came out with this, on the website they said 115 miles per gallon. I've only gotten that mile per gallon once. That was basically putting around town, which what this bike was originally intended for. But for what I do, my commute through the mountains, because I go up 2,000 feet in elevation and drop back down, twice a day. So to the mountains, and you ride fast to the mountains. So when I do that, I get about 90 miles a gallon on this bike. And when I'm traveling wide open with full load and everything, I probably get, depending on the wind and riding conditions, I probably get about 90, and the slowest 80. And the lowest I've ever seen is 70 miles per gallon. And the only reason that was because that's usually after a long trip, like going across the country, because everything's just worn out. Like my belt and everything is just shot. It's like right at the limit of wear. Tires are at the limit of wear. Everything's just worn out. The bike, needs a valve adjusted and all that stuff. So usually by then that's when I get 70 miles a gallon, and that's the worst I've ever seen. I've only seen that a few times that I've gone across the country, and as I get back home the last day or two, it's when it shows that lower mileage. Yeah, what a fantastic bike. So whoever has this bike, and if they don't know about me, they don't know what they got. But people that do know me and know about me, that bought this bike because they saw what this bike is capable of, because what I've done with it, they know what they got, and it's just fantastic bike, phenomenal bike for what it is. And when I bought this thing brand new, it was only it only cost me $3,000. $3,000 out the door, and I got 76,000 miles out of it. So this one I bought used. I think it cost me used, was it 1,800? Around 1,800 or so. So the guy that I'm selling it to, he's gonna put it on the back of his RV. Because he's traveling around a lot on the RV, and when you're traveling on the RV, wherever you get to, you don't want to, if you need to go anywhere, you don't want to drive the RV around. That sucks. So this right here is what he's going to be using it for, and it's perfect for that. And it's going to come, I have like bunch of consumables, bunch of air filters, belts, whatever. I have, all the stuff I have here. Like, we'll get this back to probably we'll get this back to 50,000 miles of consumables, all drive parts and stuff. So I just put in, I went through the bike last night. I just put in new drives, changed out the fluids, did everything. The only thing I need to do now is the brake fluid, and that's about it. Bleed the brakes, and I'll be done. I could give it off to him, sign it off to him. Yeah, so it's end of an era, end of the decade, and I'll miss it for sure. But let's see. Hopefully, I don't regret it, getting rid of it. All right. Thanks for watching. For listening to me blabber on for 25 minutes now.